There's two completely different types of people in this world, Kai, and they're both you and they're both me.
Yeah.
All right. There's the you that is off centered, fatigued, cooked, doesn't know how to down regulate. Then and it's usually pretty immature as well, right? But then there's you
Sure.
that's mature, centered, well rested, connected to those around him.
This year, workplace mental health reports keep landing on the same finding. Sleep has become the top issue that people struggle with. Most of us are just exhausted and call it normal. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Vibe with Kai podcast. My name is Kairos Keenan Westcott. Welcome to the show. Today's guest spent years as a Special Forces Commando, then years of working with veterans stuck in fight or flight. His name is Tim Thomas, and he fought that same war. PTSD, chronic exhaustion, pills that never worked. His breakthrough came in the dirt of Afghanistan, realizing that his own body had an off switch. That became Breathwork in Bed, which is the app that he built to help people sleep better. And if you want 28 free days of that app, check out the show notes. Today, we talk about the 2 5-minute windows in your day that can completely change your day. Speaking of show notes, the show notes is where you're going to find the link to subscribe to The Vibe with Kai on Patreon or Facebook for only $5 a month. And when you subscribe, you'll get real ADHD education that you won't find anywhere else, plus exclusive access to Reverse the Mic, which is a segment that I do with my podcast guests where they turn the tables on me and they get to interview me and ask me anything that they want. Ooh, it's fun when they do that. With that said, my friends, sit back, relax, and enjoy my chat with the awesome Tim Thomas. All right, friends, I am sitting here with Tim Thomas. Super excited to be sitting and chatting with you today. I have to start by asking you something that I read online. You mentioned fixing things with 20 cents and a toothpick that
Yep.
others cannot fix with $1 million. I love that. I love that. How does that philosophy apply to the human body?
Sure. And I'll make this really simple. Okay.
Yeah.
For the last decade plus, I've been working with veterans in extreme states of fight or flight. So they're in their amygdala. Okay. Everything's a threat because everything is a threat. And I discovered what blocks them going from their amygdala to their prefrontal cortex, seeing the connection. I'm not alone. I can trust people. People can trust me. Or your executive function. Once I saw that and I effectively removed those blockages, things just started happening because millions of dollars get spent on, mental health in the veteran space and otherwise. But while someone's feeling alone, isolated, I don't know who to trust, it's largely water off a duck's back. So I was the guy that created all these results with, a toothpick and 20 cents just because I'm dyslexic. I see things in patterns, failed high school, but I see things other people don't. And I probably talk differently too. So, just be aware of that. You don't have to remind me.
I love it though. That's what makes you you, my friend. That's what makes you you.
Well, I
love
love how in the civilian world that's embraced, but in the military background, you kind of had to be a square peg in a square hole. Time and a place for it.
Sure.
And I certainly do appreciate, being my uniqueness now, but there is that reminder every now and then, that don't express yourself. You've got to stay in your lane type stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask how your special forces experience shaped that specific perspective on both physical and mental resilience. Cause it had to have played a huge role, I would imagine, right?
So are you talking about the state shifting or the
All of the above, like just the way that the way that philosophy that you lead about the 20 cents and the toothpick, like that
right.
did that stem from your special forces?
So all of my breakthroughs and the things that I've had great success with were discovered in environments where you had no resources to access. And you were locked in a war zone. And if you could make something work in that space with limited resources, then there's a very high likelihood it'll work outside of that space. So the thing that made me really successful was discovering that our nervous system actually has a switch between that get out there and get after the world, fight through with what you need to actually switch it back into, I can be in this place. I don't have to scan for threat. I'm okay inside my own skin. And that simple switch and revelation, it's now kind of my unintentional life work because I can't do what you do, Kai, but if I can help you sleep better, if I can have you waking up feeling better, then your gifts are coming into the world in a much better space. And that's the exciting part for me. like down regulating
Yeah.
your nervous system, switching off and not caring about anything or anyone, just being here okay to be safe, doing that pharmaceutical free, alcohol free, because the world loves to give us things that help us supposedly down regulate alcohol, drugs, pills, but we can actually do a large part of that for ourselves. And that's
Mhm.
what I discovered in that very resource scarce place of Afghanistan. It got me through the battle of my special forces career, but it also got me through the battle of my divorce. So
Mm.
breathwork applied correctly has this way of not just relaxing your body but your mind, and it almost feels like a spiritual thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a result of all of this, you built this incredible resource called Breathwork in Bed. It's an app and it offers 28 days free to help people sleep with peace and wake up with power, which I love. Why the bedroom? Why did you choose the bedroom as the primary battleground for mental health here?
Well, there's so many people out there going, "Oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that."
Yeah.
But A, how can you do that straight away? And most people have busy lives. They don't want to have to remember six things before they go to bed.
Hmm.
So the biggest difference that was made to me was a small thing I could do that would give me a big win. And the small thing is understanding that our state of being has two golden 5-minute periods every 24 hours. 5 minutes going to sleep, 5 minutes waking up. And most people unknowingly poison their state in those times. Going to sleep with the weight of the world on your shoulders, waking
Hmm.
up feeling like gravity's times 10. What's the frickin' point?
Hmm.
Okay. And trust me when I say I've been there, done that. I am not separate from this journey. But that was quite a blessing because I thought, well, if it can work for someone as thick-skinned as me, surely it can work for others. And so what I created was the easiest win possible, which was guided breath work that falls out of your phone exactly when you need it. I always think that if you want to create a new habit, it's got to be easy and effortless.
Yes.
So if I had quality food Ubered into my house exactly when I wanted to eat, I'd probably start eating more quality food, right? And that would compound over time. I'd become a much healthier person if it just fell on my
Yeah.
front doorstep exactly when it's supposed to. So that's the kind of the genius of the Breathwork in Bed app. It's breath work exactly when you need it going to sleep, which you just go tap. And then when you're in that sort of state where you can be like, oh, just forget about everything, I'll try and sleep. If you can just tap that button and focus on your breath, you're giving yourself the peace, connection, safety, relaxation, as well as physical anti inflammation. So,
Yeah.
this guy was addicted to a lot of pills for pain. And I noticed
Yeah.
every time I did breath work, especially going to sleep, I woke up with less pain. And now I'm not anti-pill, but I think people need to be aware at least of the options underneath their own skin when they move forward. So breathwork in bed simply gives you that small access to a massive state change 5 minutes before sleep. And if you can win the first 5 minutes of the day, you've won the day.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking about like the first 5 minutes, both going to sleep and waking up, because I feel as though, and I'm sure you know this from your own research and studies and talking to thousands of people about this, our brains seem to spiral the second that our heads hit the pillow at night, right? I think that's a fair statement to say. Why do you think that is? I know you're talking about like the weight of the world, right? Like and
Yeah.
like for some people maybe it's easy to just kind of toss that aside before they go to sleep. But for a lot of people, it's really hard to just lay down and not think of stuff. Why do our brains seem to spiral the second that our heads hit the pillow?
Good question, and I really feel for those people that are struggling with this right now. I was definitely in that, but the reason why we do that is that our physical system is wired for threat. Our ancestors survived because they were scanning for threat. And in
Hmm.
our safe modern world, there's no longer any threats, but we've still got a threat response system that then overlays this threat response on existential threats. They don't know the difference between a real physical threat and I've got to pay the mortgage. That threat
Right.
response is still there. And when you're in that part of your brain, which is your amygdala, tell yourself that because there's threats around, that means if I drop my guard for a second, something bad's going to happen and it's going to be my fault
Mm,
because there's all these people I care about. If I drop the ball, that's going to impact them.
right.
So if you
Right.
can be the one that understands, if you think of everything you have in your life, right? responsibilities, work, loved ones, and put yourself in a physically depleted state, in a mentally depleted state. How would that affect them? Your work might not be as secure, your income might not be as secure, your loved ones will still love you, but geez, it might be a bit hard to be around you if you're waking up in a
Mhm.
crappy mood and you're
Yeah.
blaming them. Your diet would probably be different.
Yes.
Conversely, and I only highlight the negative to highlight the positive, because a lot of people don't see that as they invest in themselves, as they strengthen themselves, as they get a better night's sleep, everything in their life gets better. So it's not being
Mhm.
selfish when you're looking after yourself. And so invest, and if all you had to do is invest 5 minutes of breath work to get the best night's sleep ever and wake up feeling good and have everything in your life benefited from that, that's where people get out of the idea that somehow if I'm suffering and I never drop the ball, it's going to benefit others in some way, somehow. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It does. It does. And listening to you speak, I mean, you're obviously very well versed in this, understandably so. I'm curious, when did you realize that the off switch for stress was not some sort of external solution, but it was something that's already built into our biology?
Okay. Kai, you have to understand that the economy we live in doesn't want us to discover this. All
Yeah.
right. Because there's lots of people with a lot of products that will sell you money for your money, products that'll do this for you. I'm
Mm.
dropping my head right now because for 6 years, I lost a lot of my life to pharmaceuticals because that's what
Yeah.
they gave you when your head wasn't working, you're not sleeping. In
Right.
Australia, they call them veteran zombies, or
Mm.
zombie veterans. It's when you see the gravity of us not being aware of our own off switch, you start seeing how we live in an economy of dysfunction. It wants us to buy stuff that we can do for ourselves. And so, after being in that space for so many years, and people would tell me, you need to do this, you need that, they never made anything accessible. So that's why I've spent years and a bunch of my own money creating something for people to access. So I say, hey, this is an option, and I don't want people just to talk about it. They can actually access it. So, like I said, I discovered this in the dirt of Afghanistan. I was beyond fatigued. I thought I was going to die. And it was like I only had 2 cents worth of energy. And then
Mhm.
this sort of statement came through my head saying, well, Tim, if you've only got 2 cents worth of energy, you better invest that 2 cents wisely. And what I did, I wasn't shown how to do this. It was led. You'd never got anything you'd call sleep, but every now and then you could get horizontal. And instead of just trying to sleep, I would focus on my left thumb. And with the 2 cents of energy I had, there'd be like a little pinprick at the tip of my thumb, and I would snort through it and picture me breathing down my thumb. And it felt really good. And eventually my thumb turned into white light. In my mind's eye, my thumb turned into
Mhm.
white light. And I'm like, that's feeling really good. I pulled it through my finger. I went to sleep and I woke up
Yeah.
with $2 worth of energy. I'm like, that's interesting. Energy's like money. How you invest, it's how you get it back.
Mhm.
And so I couldn't have worked any harder during the daytime. And the world we live in loves to maximize, got to do more in the day, got to do more in the day. I'm like, the
Oh
day
yeah.
is
Yeah, it
full.
does.
How
Mhm.
about we be gentle on ourselves at nighttime and give us what we really need to restore, recharge, you know?
Mhm.
Or when I'm talking to my corporates, it's the performance pyramid. Top of the pyramid is you're achieving what you want in the outside world. Bottom of the pyramid is your rest, recovery, and healing art forms. And it is an art form, all right, to actually dial into that. And the people that can go from performance, and I'm all about performance, but performance without self-regulation is just a liability waiting to happen. Okay. And
Mm.
this is kind of I've observed the Western world loves saying go out there, grind away, and now you're fatigued, we'll sell you a bunch of stuff to compensate. Okay,
Yeah.
because you can't find the off switch yourself, we'll sell you some drugs that'll give you the off switch. And
Mhm.
right now, what is 7 billion people on the planet, $140 billion illegal drug spend? I'm thinking
Mm.
there's a lot of people that don't know how to self-regulate and they just want that time where it feels everything's okay. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm getting a bit heated right now because I'm super passionate about this and I can't get the time back that I lost to pills, but as God is my witness, I don't want anyone else to go into that space without knowing there's some real natural available options underneath your own skin.
Yeah. I'm happy that you get passionate about this because I think that this is something that people need to hear. I think it's also very validating for some people that might be struggling with this as well. Because that internal shift, it's massive, which actually kind of leads me directly into the messy part of this healing process that I think that people rarely want to talk about. Like, I want to talk about because you mentioned fatigue, right? And I want to talk about exhaustion specifically because I'm diagnosed ADHD, and my ADHD brain feels sometimes like it's a car running on fumes. And I know that there's a lot of people in my audience that feel the same way. And I know that a lot of your work deals heavily with chronic exhaustion, PTSD, that kind of thing. So, why do you believe that most people are not just tired? It sounds like people just forgotten how to be human, how to feel human. Why do you think that is?
There's two completely different types of people in this world, Kai, and they're both you and they're both me.
Yeah.
All right. There's the you that is off centered, fatigued, cooked, doesn't know how to down regulate. Then and it's usually pretty immature as well, right? But then there's you
Sure.
that's mature, centered, well rested, connected to those around him. And it starts with powerful connections inside of yourself. And the thing about the brain is you can't outthink it, but you can outrank it. And think of it like this: us humans, before we were sentient and putting paintings on rock walls, we had a nervous system that was interacting with the outside world. And this ancient system didn't shut off. It's still in us. It's still underneath us. And our mind can't outthink it. And the thing is, like, I get frustrated with psychologists. They work really hard, but no one tells them after 8 years of study that the trauma goes down deeper than the words can reach, because this ancient threat response system existed before we were speaking and before we were thinking. And I don't want to get existential here, because everything I do runs off what I call 3 Ps. It has to be powerful, positive, and permanent. And permanency is the most important one to me, because if you say you care about somebody, you've got to care about them tomorrow, the next week, the next year. The stuff just can't work when you're in the space. It's got to, and for that to happen, for permanency to happen, you've got to connect them to something a bit more powerful than yourself, because I'm just a human, right? But I've got connections to powerful things. So what I'd love to do, and I'm very interested in doing this with you,
Mhm.
Kai, because I want to give you an experience of what it is, because you can't outthink your mind, but you can outrank it with your breath. Your breath
Mhm.
is older and more powerful, but
Mhm.
we have to know how to tap into it. So I'd love, if you're open to it, give you an experience of what it is to have this thing go through your system and receive your own medicine on a level possibly you haven't before.
Yeah, absolutely. Will my insurance cover this, Tim? Because I'm kidding.
Be seated and in a safe condition, in a safe space.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I'm down. Let's do it.
All right. So everything's an invitation, Kai. So do you give permission to your own breath to make every single cell in your physical body feel really, really good?
Yes, I give permission.
Awesome. That was easy. Second question's just as easy. Do you give permission to your own breath to make your conscious thinking mind feel really, really good?
Yes, yes, I give permission.
Excellent. Last one. Do you give permission to your very own breath to make your unconscious mind feel really, really good?
Yes, I give permission.
Fantastic. All right. So this is going to be super, super, super simple. So all we're
Mhm.
going to do, Kai, and again, this is just to be done seated. You don't want to be doing this, driving or cutting up carrots.
Yes, please though. That's the disclaimer. That's our
Yeah, and
disclaimer
and
today.
the ADHD mind has already left the building.
Yeah. They're like, why can't I do all of these things and 5 other things all at one time? Why not?
Okay, so all we're going to do, Kai, is
Mhm.
breathe in, but then breathe in more, 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 more. You got that? Breathe in. Breathe in more,
Yes.
more, 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 more. Hold it and just wriggle like you're in bed. Wriggle like you're opening up your chest. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle like you're stretching it out, like you're stretching it out, like you're stretching it out. Cover your mouth and let out a really big yawn. Just let that wash through your system, Kai. That's your energy. You're doing this for you. No one flew in from Australia and injected anything. Sorry, I shouldn't do that. You're in the moment.
It feels no, it feels good. It always feels good to just breathe, like to focus on breath. I love this kind of work. Yeah.
Well, it's about to get better, because you've just dipped your toe into something, into a deep swimming pool, and we're still down the shallow end.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people don't know this. And the joy I have is introducing people to just how amazing their body is, because we all own one, right? But we just don't know what it is. And I tell you, it
Yes.
does more than just carry your eyeballs around that looks at a phone. So what we're going to do is hold up your 2 fingers with your thumb and then pinch them together like that, right? 2 fingers,
Mhm.
2 fingers like that, and then pinch like that.
Mhm.
That's it. So
Mhm.
these are a power button, right? They're going to help you inhale, and they're going to help boost your top third inhale. Okay, so you have them down by your side. I've just got them up there so you can see them. What we're going to do
Mhm.
now is exhale, and halfway through the exhale, we're going to pinch those and look up, okay, to help
Okay.
boost this top part of your lungs.
During the exhale. During the exhale, you said, right?
No, sorry. We're going to exhale, and then as we
Okay.
inhale, we're going to hit
Inhale.
the
Okay.
power buttons to inhale.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So blow it out, out, in through your nose, and then hit those power buttons and look up. In. Now just again, wriggle. And when you're ready, cover your mouth, and I want a really loud yawn, as loud as you can, yawning into your hand. That's it. Out. Get it out. Out. Just receive it in. Receive it to your body, your mind, your unconscious mind. This is you doing you right now.
Yeah. I need this more than you know today, Tim. So
I got you, bro. I got you. Okay. And we all do. Breath is the holiday you don't think you need, but when you take it, you're like, oh my gosh, I needed that. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes when we're releasing this physical tension, some of the emotions that are stuck behind them come through. Okay. So just let that wash through, because the reason why breath is so powerful is that every element has a nature. The nature of air is you can't actually hold it. If you try to hold the air, you can't hold it. So when we breathe on that nature, the nature of air doesn't allow us to hold on to our physical tension. It doesn't allow us to hold on to our mental tension. So all of a sudden, people start stretching and moving and yawning, sometimes burping and farting because they're holding all that stuff in, right? Yeah. So, us humans, we're built for connection. Our greatest days is when we feel connected to others. Like, Kai, if you knew I had your back 100%, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew you had my back. The same, like, fuck me, everything else is a very small detail. It's a good day. Bring it on, right?
Yes, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Why do we resist this so much? Because you think this would go without saying, right, Tim? Like all of this work that you put into it, that we put into it, into our bodies and all of this. But it seems as though so many people resist just sitting with their own bodies until I guess we reach this absolute breaking point. Why do we resist this so much? Sometimes I feel like we're actively resisting it.
Such an excellent question. And I will break this down for you. We've all been taken from at some point, right? We've been hurt, and we associate that hurt with pain, and pain is bad. So let's do things to never let that happen again. Mm-hmm. So when I'm working with high school students, I'll talk about this concept, and I'll get a plant and I'll put a metal bucket over the top of it. And I'll say, okay, this plant's now safe. Now what's happening to the plant? And then they go, well, it's safe, but it's slowly dying. Past hurts. And some people even associate the sense of being open with a threat, because that was the last time I got hurt. It was when I was open, right? But this is where you have to start seeing this as a bit of a ledger, in the way that if you could make $10 million a day and someone took 20 cents, you'd be like, whatevs, right? But if I only had 25 cents, and I've been that guy when I only had 25 cents worth of energy and someone took 20, and I want to revenge that shit, and I'm ruminating on it for years, and I'm wasting years of my life completely forgetting the fact I could be an energetic millionaire the very next day.
It's so baffling to me why, even, and I'm guilty of this, Tim, why we just don't focus on it. But like, it seems like, and like you had mentioned how you lost years to the pharmaceutical side of things because it's an easy fix, right? I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. And there's a lot of skeptics out there that are probably just like, no, why do I have to put in all this work when something can do it for me? I feel like that's the mindset that a lot of people have. Is that what you experience? Like the conversations that you have with people, is this a common conversation that you're having with them?
And you have to be gentle with people because they're hurting. And they're vulnerable, and they've often been that way for years. And because they've been hurting for so long, they want Superman to fly in and save them. All right. And this is the promise of the clever marketers. Yes, Superman's going to fly in and solve all your problems. All right. And they're very willing to throw a bunch of chemicals downrange. But what they don't tell you is the cost of taking them. It's like a short-term energy loan. They might give you $100 this week, but next week you got to pay it back $200. There's a cost to all these things. You don't get anything for free. And they also don't tell you how hard it is to get off these things. So again, I'm not anti-pill, but no one told me the cost of taking these things or how hard it is to come off of them. And especially no one told me about the natural options that were available underneath my own skin. Yeah. And I had to be in such a low place to make me realize that, holy shit, we're not in an age of information right now. We're in an age of marketing. The first 6 pages of Google are marketers. And a goal of a
That is true.
marketer is what? To get a repeat sale. The goal
Yeah.
of a healer is to heal you and not get repeat business.
Right.
So
Right.
I really want to say there's good news here. The good news is that when you find the right healer, healing takes far less time than what you think. The bad news is that the amount of time it takes to find a good healer is rather extensive. And when people are hurting and they don't have a lot of energy anyway, they don't really have the bandwidth to do it took me 6 years to find a good psychologist, right? And he was a guy that understood that words only went so far and he could actually unlock it from the body.
Yeah.
But a lot of people stop short of that. And when you're in that sort of chemically induced state, look, I will only share what got me out of it, okay? Because I was beyond spent. I was in a state of disconnect, doing all sorts of crazy dumb stuff. You know, in my state of disconnect, I was about to kill a man in 2011. My time in the Special Forces ended a year earlier. The government wasn't paying me. This would have been murder. I had reached the bottom of the barrel, family falling apart, and conventional wisdom said, oh, you got to see a psychologist, Tim. And I'm like, that makes no sense. I don't know this guy. I don't trust him. I don't like talking about this stuff. Why would I want to talk about stuff I don't want to talk about to someone I don't know and I don't trust? But what do you know, Tim? You're going crazy, right? So I go there, Kai, and I realized pretty quickly that I'd paid a lot of good money for a guy who wasn't just incompetent, he was apathetic, completely apathetic, staring at the ceiling, not even paying attention. And I'm sharing all the stuff that I'd seen in Afghanistan and all the stuff with my family falling apart. And then at the end, he kind of sniffs. He goes, oh, you think it was a problem with your mum and dad? The whole room froze. You know, the second on the clock that goes tick, 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 they went, Chick.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I saw that this man was saying he's a healer. But he's not just not healing people, he's harming people. I'm going to do the world a favor by removing him. And guess what? There's a glass frame psychology degree behind him. So this is going to be poetic. I'm going to feed this fucker his own words.
Yeah.
And I get out of my chair to do this, right? And before Special Forces, I was a professional fighter. So when I set my mind to do something, there's not a person on earth that could stop me.
Yeah.
I get out of the chair to do this. And then it gets a bit existential. So I felt a hand on my chest. Not enough to stop me, but like, what's that? And it kind of half took my breath away. I'm like, what is that? And then these words came in saying, Tim, you are the toughest motherfucker you know. And you are struggling in a system that doesn't understand, doesn't seem to care, and seems to want to keep you sick. And I just sat back down feeling completely defeated. But that's when I saw them. Thousands of people to me on my right and thousands of people on my left. All these people were stuck in the same situation as me. And they weren't saying anything, but they were looking in. They had that look of pain. And they said, Tim, if you can find a way forward for you, you can find a way forward for us.
Yeah.
And you know, this guy just disappeared. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if it takes me a week, a month, a decade. I've got to find a way to get an inch forward. Because I reckon there's at least 1 million other people stuck in the same situation as me. So if I'm making an inch of progress, I'm making 1 million inches of progress. And that was the hero villain moment where everything tipped. Like I could be in prison right now, you know, or I could be the one that saw it's super dangerous when we start feeling like we're all alone, because dumb stuff starts seeming normal. But when we ask the question, how many other people are in the same situation as us, regardless of what it is, I just came through it through that particular experience, but you can get this through, you know, relationships, cancer, whatever trauma or blockage or obstacle that's in front of you. I'm encouraging everyone right now to ask yourself that question. How many other people are struggling with what you're struggling with? And don't just think a lot. Give it a genuine number and then cut them in half. Put half on your right, half on your left, and they're willing you on. A lot of them you haven't met yet. A lot of them, when you do meet them, are going to say, you know what? We're so glad that you chose what you did back in 2026 after listening to the Vibe podcast with Kai. You started choosing to find a way forward, because the thing that took you a week, a year, a decade, you've helped us do in far less time.
Yeah. I know that there's going to be a lot of my audience are parents, busy parents. You know where I'm going with this. And a lot of them are probably listening right now being like, Tim, this all sounds great. I appreciate you telling the story. I appreciate you giving me this stuff. But listen, I don't have 15 minutes to do breath work. I don't have time to do this and do that. And I always my platform, I'm always a proponent of obviously validating people's feelings, but also not using these things as excuses, just more of like using these as reasons and then finding ways for people to take accountability to keep their life moving forward. And I say that with love, right? It's not a popular way to go about doing it, but that's just how I am because I just don't like using any kind of mental health aspect or life situation as an excuse. It's a reason and it's a valid reason, but let's do something about it. I know that there's a lot of people in my audience that are parents that have a lot going on. They might be working two jobs, they have kids, maybe they're single parent households, whatever it may be. What do you say to them, the people that feel as though they don't have the time to dedicate this energy and this breath work into their day because they have a kid running around all day or they have two jobs that they have to run back and forth to? What would you say to them?
Kids don't inherit just your money. They
Mm,
inherit your nervous system. And whether we know it or not, our energetic signature is always emanating from us. As humans, we're a lot more porous than we'd like to admit. And I would only offer, if you were like me and you've only got 2 cents worth of energy, invest that into your breath while you're still in bed. And, heck, you can use a number of different platforms. I've got breathwork in bed here. You can try that for 28 days free, or you've got any other ones, but just notice what that 2 cents investment is. Whatever you've got spare, whatever that looks like, if you invest that, see what comes back. Because the goal I have for
yeah.
all my clients is to be what I call energetic millionaires. Because life occurs very differently when you're walking down the street with $1 million energetic dollars in your back pocket than if you've only got 2 cents. Because
Yeah.
when I've had 2 cents, oh my gosh, everything's hard because everything is hard. And no one will do this for you because I didn't know about this stuff and I didn't know how to do it for myself. I lost years of my life to pharmaceuticals. And when I wasn't doing that, I was pouring a good amount of alcohol over it. No one does
Uh-huh.
this for us. It's only when we actually start small, work that capital, put 2 cents in, get $2 back. Oh, that was good. Well, I'll invest that more and I'll invest that more. And then all of a sudden, you start becoming more the center of your universe. Every time there's more of you in the world, there's more. When you do something that is in line with who you are, it's like you become bigger. And if you know
Mm,
about, physics, gravity is a result of mass. The bigger something is,
mhm.
the more gravity it has. The smaller something is, the less gravity it has. The smaller something is, the more it rotates around everything else. So small investments in breath work, getting your own center back, getting the version of you that can deal with things in a mature, centered, focused way. Because when I was off centered and something happened, I would get angry. That would be my emotional overreaction. And when we get overly emotional, that's like writing a check for $1,000 when you've
Mhm.
only got $10 in the account. It just puts you further in debt. So I just invite people to ask the question, if nothing changed, what would be the predictable future?
Yeah.
If you didn't, yeah,
I appreciate you saying that. I think that's really because I think that's important for people to understand because that's probably honestly the number one question that I get from my platform. And I want to ask you something about breathwork in bed since you just brought it up again because I think this is important. We have this app here to help anybody and everybody. If somebody were to download breathwork in bed right now, what's the first thing that they should do once the app is on their phone to start this journey?
it's really simple. You just got to tell it when you want to sleep, when you
Mhm.
want to wake up, and we take care of the rest. I made it for people that have a lot on their plate.
Mhm.
You don't want to cook. You want to Uber Eats in some good food. And if I had good food Uber Eats in exactly when I needed, I'd probably, eat more good food, right? And so it is with this breathwork thing. It's just a notification that turns up exactly when you need it. Tap, tap. And that's why you can get to try it for free for 28 days. So you can actually see the version of you that has that peace power connection to your own breath going to sleep and that peace power connection coming out of bed. There's some bonus features on there, which I'll talk about maybe later, but ultimately, you have to understand energy is never static. It's either growing, connecting to more things, or it's shrinking, connecting to less. And that's when it starts shrinking. That's when people start thinking, well, I'm all alone in this world. And that was my success in the veteran space by simply asking the question. So if there's people out there up against something, it could be a single parent, it could be an exhausted person, ask himself that question. How many other people are in exactly the same situation as me? And then give it a genuine number. And then guess what? That's your tribe, man. So when you take choices now and you move forward, well, if 1 million other people did that choice, how would that impact them?
Mhm.
And that just sort of, it's not the pain and fatigue that we can't handle. It's the sense that we're doing life alone. That's a pain that no social mammal that we are can handle. Because like I said, if we
Mhm.
had each other's back, bring it on. Nothing we can't handle.
Yeah.
But if I don't
Yeah.
know who to trust, everything's hard because everything is hard. It's the way we're wired. So connection to others starts with connection to self. Powerful
Mhm.
connections inside yourself, which we can control. And the easiest way I've found is just through your own breath. The app is not the high tech part of this. Your own lungs are. You're going to discover it's not a set of lungs we own, it's a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. It is your best friend, your closest partner. It's going to be there when you go to sleep. It's going to be there when you're up at 2 a.m. It's going to be there in the morning. It's going to be there when you're frustrated because things aren't working out. And
Yeah.
this, inbuilt relationship, it's free. That's probably why you don't hear about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
our own ignorance of our own power gets exploited. Well, my ignorance was exploited by alcohol, pharmaceuticals, my own dumb choices. Because here's what we found time and time again. And I will say that these two things helped me achieve a lifetime goal. My lifetime goal was saving 40 veteran lives from suicide. I would have died happy if I achieved that, Kai, but that was achieved within 12
Mhm.
months because, 20 cents and toothpick thing, we broke isolation with people and then we got them out of fatigue. So all
Mhm.
our programs were measured on how much it improved the quality of their sleep. And once people started banking the sleep, they're getting out of the scarcity mindset, the fight or flight, the threat response. They get into their own executive function. It's like the tourniquet comes off their intelligence. They know it all. They can see it all. It is literally like a different person is now occurring inside this bag of skin. But understanding that the blockages between the sovereign version of you that's mature and can see it all and be with it all, and the version of you that's immature, reactive, is blocked by two big things: feeling like you're all alone and fatigue.
Mhm.
And the scary thing in our society, Kai, is that we have this cultural acceptance of poor sleep. Like we would target the enemy's sleep. If you want to destroy someone, destroy their sleep. Okay, we didn't know about the science of sleep. We just knew if we could take it out for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet.
Mhm.
And everyone says they've got people they care about, but when's the last time you specifically did something to ensure that they had a really good night's sleep?
Right.
We
Right.
just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will definitely be keeping that in mind because I 100% admittedly need to improve my sleep patterns. It's been something that over the past I would say year I've been taking a lot more seriously than I had when I was younger. And I turn 39 soon, and over the last year I've learned the importance of sleep because I grew up with that hustle culture. It's like, okay, I'll sleep when I'm dead. You know.
Yep.
Like that kind of mindset, which is just not sustainable if I want to be the successful person that I want to be in my life. Tim, I want to play a game with you. It's called This or
Listening.
That. Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you two choices, and you can choose one or both or the other. Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer. You just choose whatever. You go with your gut, whatever you feel is best in the moment.
All right, I'm going to
Okay.
close my eyes and listen to your voice.
All right. All right. Here we go. First one: cold showers or sauna sessions.
Both. You got to do
Yeah, that's
both.
fine. Yeah, there's no wrong answer. Yeah, I agree with you there. Number two: sleeping in total silence or sleeping with ambient noise.
Correct ambient noise will make a better impact to your sleep.
What is the correct ambient noise?
Okay, so there are certain frequencies that people respond well to, and one of which is called binaural beats.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to sleep, I'll have this like headband with microphones in. So it's not like a
Mm-hmm.
big headpiece that bangs around the place. You can
Right.
move around. So it's like a headband. It blacks out the light, but it also has these soft speakers there. And the binaural beats, they send one frequency through one ear, one frequency through the other, and then they kind of meet in the middle, and you get this really nice effect and frequency through your brain.
Oh,
So
I like
that's
this.
that's one way to do it.
What is your thought on white noise
Well, look,
that people sleep with?
again, I think there's a book written called We Are the Placebo. So if
Mm,
you're in the habit of doing something and your body is associated with going to sleep with it, then
mm-hmm.
awesome, right? The only time I would question whether it's helping, enabling, or addictive is if you were without it, would you become like a lesser person?
Oh, I see.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't interact
Yes.
with me until I have my white light or white noise.
Yeah.
Shut up until I've had a coffee.
Yeah. That's a perfect for my next one. Number 3, coffee first thing in the morning or waiting an hour after you wake up.
Definitely waiting 90 minutes after waking up because as you probably know, your body is purging all the sleep chemicals. And if you take coffee before that, the purge doesn't happen. In fact, all those sleep chemicals stay in your system. So you have an after coffee crash, which then, marketers love repeat sales. So they will hijack your chemistry.
Yep. I'm glad you said that so that I'm not the only person that lives and breathes by that rule. So thank you for validating my thought there. Number 4, a grueling physical workout or a deep meditation session.
For me and my system, grueling physical workout, because then the rest of my day becomes a meditation session because, little concept for you. In your language, I'm about 190 pounds, right? And that's a measurement of mass. Okay. And that's stuck in Australia at 10:32 a.m. Right. And you've got a body, it's a measurement of mass. It's stuck at that timeline. Right. But you'd understand this with an ADHD brain. Your brain doesn't contain any mass. Right. And that's obvious. Right. Oh, sorry, not your brain, your mind.
I know what you meant. Yeah. I know what you meant. Yeah.
You got no brains.
Yeah. My brain is not there. I knew what you meant. That's funny.
Yeah.
Your mind doesn't have any mass.
All day.
Yes.
So, I was getting ahead of myself. Our minds don't contain any mass, right? Which is obvious, but it needs to be said. So without any mass, there's nothing holding our mind to this moment. So I can send my mind back to tomorrow, the day before, anything unresolved, or I could be concerned about the future. But your mind has what I call a processing power, okay? So you've got 100% of processing power in your mind. And let's say there's something unresolved about your past that's taking up 30%. That puts you down to 70%, And let's say there's something in your future you're worried about, that puts you down to 40%. So as much as my body is now in, 1032, I can have 30% of my mind in the past and 30% of my mind in the future, leaving me 40%. And life's pretty bloody hard at 40%,
Yes.
Because I'm only at 40%. But here's what I know. If I do my morning routine, which usually involves a workout that makes me sweat, my mind goes, oh, this is awesome. I've got all the stimuli I needed in this moment. I'm going to work for you for the next 24 hours, because the mind wants stimuli. Guys like you, high stimuli, your mind is often outside of your body. And in the rare occasions where your mind and body are absolutely connected, guys like you can do superhuman stuff.
That is true.
Godlike inspiration and creation. But you need a hell of an external stimuli to actually drill you into that moment.
Yes.
So, and I put it to you that simple breathing that we did before puts you into the moment a little bit. And because when you're at 100%, I put it to anyone out there, when you're at 100%, there's not a goddamn thing you can't handle because this is you at 100%, right?
Amen to that. Last one, reading a physical book or listening to an audio guide.
Look, being dyslexic, I don't read very much. But I'm very proud. A lot of parents come up to me and say, Tim, the only book my dyslexic child has read is your book. So I've written a book and I wrote it for dyslexics and all the patterns have broken up.
Yeah.
Just so their eyes can lock onto it. Now, I don't promote my book because I kind of think that if you think about what the world needs right now, it's not another book. I prioritize, I would rather have someone sleep better than read another book.
Right.
So, like I said before, I can't do what you do, Kai. I can't do what your listeners do. But if I can help improve their sleep, then all these really cool things start happening as a result.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. The fact that we get to share this space together and that there's going to be people that listen to this, hopefully, or watch this, that maybe their lives are changed now because of this. Like that's all I could ever ask for. And, like I said, for anybody that's interested in this app, all of the information is going to be in the notes of this podcast. So all you have to do is click, go check it out, go get some more information. Why should people download it as soon as this is done?
I don't know you, but if I can improve your sleep, every part of you gets improved. Conversely, if someone wanted to destroy you, they would destroy your sleep.
Yeah. Absolutely. I asked this of all my guests. It's the final question I always ask. And let me preface this by saying thank you again for hanging out with me today and for sharing your story and for being vulnerable and for offering these tools that people can use every single day to help improve their lives. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here. The last question I have for you is this. If there's one thing that you want the audience today to take away from our conversation, what should that one thing be?
If you can control your breath, you can control everything.
It's as simple as that. As simple as that. I love it. Tim, thank you for hanging out with me today, my friend. Thank you so much. At the top of our show, I said most of us are just exhausted and call it normal. Tim's image of a plant staying safe under a bucket while it slowly dies, that stuck with me. That is what shutting down to protect yourself looks like. I've talked about my ADHD brain running on fumes many times, and this reminded me that tired and disconnected are not the same thing. If any of this hit home, download Breathwork in bed. Tim is giving away 28 days free of that app, so make sure you go check out the link in the show notes. If this episode really resonated with you today, make sure you leave a review wherever you're listening right now. Also, make sure you're following me at The Vibe with Kai on all of your favorite social media platforms, and head on over to thevibewithkai.com for the ADHD digital resource store, the blog, the email list, the podcast, and so much more ADHD resources. And if you want real, ongoing ADHD education, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes content that you can't get anywhere else, make sure you subscribe to The Vibe with Kai on Patreon or Facebook for only $5 a month. With that said, my friends, thank you so much for watching and for listening. As always, much love, good vibes. I'll catch you next time. Bye.